What is up? We are your Colorado real estate family. Today we're going to be discussing what it takes in order to survive these extreme weather conditions that Colorado does experience. Now when I say extreme, let's talk about more bipolar, right? Because it seems like one day it could be snowing and then the next day it's like sunshine, playing outside in the cul-de-sac. And so we're going to kind of go through each and every season, how you survive that, starting off with summertime, just because that's what we're currently living in right now.
The first thing to consider when you're looking into our summers is the fact that this is a dry heat. And most people, I think they want a dry heat, but it's very different in comparison to, say, humidity. So we just looked it up for you guys today, comparing a couple other cities. If you're looking over in Phoenix, it's about 29% humidity. If you're
So not as dry as Phoenix.
Yeah, in Denver, it's going to be at like 41. So we're definitely a little bit less dry than I would say Phoenix.
We're not the desert, okay? It's not the desert here, but we are definitely drier than someone like Tampa.
Yeah, Tampa, I think it was like 61% today, where you kind of go out and that you get that blow dryer effect. One thing I will say about this dry heat, though, is that after 90, 91, 92, it feels intense.
Yeah, well, and there's another big reason why it does feel intense is, yes, it is dry, but then also our high altitude, the UV rays are stronger here. How did we kind of find out about this? So when we visited our property down in Clearwater, we have an Airbnb down there. We were wondering why it is that we don't have to wear as much sunscreen, even though it felt like it was crazy hot down there. We looked it up, and apparently what it is for every 1,000 feet that you go up in altitude, the UV rays are 6 to 10% stronger. We actually had a client who reached out and she's like, holy crap, the sun here is intense. Yes. They moved from somewhere that was at sea level, and without even bringing it up, she just said, she's like, why is the sun so intense in Denver? And that is why.
Yeah, the other thing too is we don't even have to do any scientific thing. Like Peter, I have freckles, I have auburn red hair. It doesn't take much to figure out how hot it is. I get sunburn in Denver with my arm out the window. Yep. If I am, say we're on vacation, I can put, sunscreen on like a normal person and still be, I might be a little burnt, but nothing like I would be when we're at home.
And so one of these big things, how do you prepare, or how do you kind of survive the summers in Colorado? Because the summers in Colorado are beautiful, but that sun can get to you. So I mean, the biggest thing is having those sunglasses. Like I said, we've heard so many times where people are like, I never wore sunglasses before Denver, but because of how strong the sun is, I have to make sure I wear those sunglasses. Obviously that sunblock, a lot of lotions and stuff do have, what is it, like 5%?
So the makeup will also have it. A lot of us would wear the SPF makeups. Also, we talk about chapstick all the time, which we're going to talk about again later in this video, but this is a good time to get SPF in your chapstick as well, because you'd be surprised, your lips burn and all of the things that go into
Oh man, there's nothing worse
heat
than having burnt lips. I remember we went to Mexico, and I know when we were recording, I was like, why are my lips look so bad? And it's because I burnt my lip. I hate it.
He looks like he's wearing lipstick.
It does. It's
honey, he looks like you're wearing lipstick. The other thing is, this is going to be your time that you are focusing on water. The cool thing about Denver, even though we don't have a beach, we do have beaches at the lake, or lake beaches. We also, if you have little ones, say maybe they're not good swimmers and that's just a little too much of a trip for you, we always have these splash pads at all these different rec centers, or even just parks, and or even the malls now.
Yeah, the malls
will have little splash pads where they're just going and getting wet, and that will make all the difference.
Also, we have Waterworld. So if you're in the Denver Metro North area, Waterworld is a huge water park that we have outside the Denver Metro area. Amazing. I always went there as a kid. I actually used to work there.
Yeah.
I used to work there. The Dippin' Dot stand. Don't worry about it.
Wish I knew that he was working there. Maybe I could have gotten some free Dippin' Dots.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But that would have been the wrong thing to do, right?
Right. Now, the other thing is, if you are in Denver, right now we have Six Flags Elitch Gardens. I don't even know what they call it anymore. But that also has a water park.
Yeah, I mean, the bad thing about Elitch's is we don't know. I keep on trying to keep up on it, because eventually they're going to be tearing it down. So it's is it even still around?
Or moving it. They'll be moving it. What is the last rumor?
Yeah, it always changes. We'll kind of see what happens with that. But like I said, I mean, good to go with that Waterworld. They're not going anywhere, and it's a fantastic spot to go to kind of keep a little bit cooler. Another good tip on that as well too is a lot of people will go up into the mountains, because the mountains, you are going to get probably 10, 15 degrees temperature drop when it's super hot down in the Denver metro area. So a lot of people go up to Evergreen, or even up to Vail, Breckenridge, all these spots, and it's so much cooler. And so you could have a day trip up there and get away from the heat that you were experiencing in the Denver metro area.
The other great thing about our summer days is even though the days are really hot, you still have a very beautiful afternoon, evening kind of like shift where if you aren't able to get out and get in front of water during the daytime, then maybe you're taking your outside strolls at night. Like we would take walks with the kids. The one thing that is bad is during the heat of the summer, their bugs aren't as extreme during the daytime, but then they start to come out at night. So you've got to find that like perfect little mix of like when you go out before it starts getting dark to like catch those kind of cooler nights, but still not so dark that the bugs come out and get you like the mosquitoes. So now the last thing that you can expect is going to be those wildfires. Now I will say Colorado is now getting a bad name because of obviously the Superior fire that happened. However, that is not what's most common. What's most common is we're going to start seeing fires in the mountains. That could be started on its own or maybe even from leftover things from campers. And so they'll start to go through those really hot areas and they'll kind of do fire bans, or you'll have to check. There's like little like the meters when you're driving up the mountain, and it'll be like, oh, fire ban, or it'll be like we're red, yellow, or green as far as the fire risk. So expect to see some of those things. There are really cool things that you could do if you are camping where they some of the places allow some of the solo stoves or things that are a little less
what they'll do
risk.
is they won't allow like an open fire or a wood burning fire, but what they will allow is like those propane little fire pit things. And so a lot of times, like one place that we love to go is up in Boulder County, is we are allowed to bring that, at least I hope we still are. I hope I'm not speaking out of terms because this is after March file, who knows, but we were able to bring that propane little fire pit up there, be able to use that, because a lot of places you will experience those fire bans. And then also just know, like, I mean, the fires, when was it, 2020 is when we had that really bad smoke. It was horrible. It was like 2020 seemed like a year that just sucked all around, right? Just something that you're going to have to kind of get used to is we do have those wildfires. Some summers are worse than others, and so you just got the smoke. Sometimes you got the soot and the ash kind of coming down. On those days that we do have those wildfires and smoke's really bad, just kind of keep inside. Make sure you're changing out your furnace filters, making sure you're not exposing yourself too much or as little as possible to that the smoke that's coming from the wildfires. Now, for the sake of keeping everything in order, we are going to break into fall, and I don't want to say too much about fall because it's Chelsea's favorite, and I feel like they should probably be sitting here gnawing her fingernails to say something if I decide to break into it. So,
all right, guys, if you are new to our channel, you don't know how much of a fall enthusiast I really am, but this is the most beautiful time I personally think of Colorado, and that's because we now have leaves are changing colors. We have cool, like I'm a runner, well, I'm a pretend runner. I'm a 5K'er is what I should say. And this is where you're able to get out at like different times of the day and have really nice, beautiful, cool breezes. You're going to have like the fashion with the leggings and the boots and
That's her favorite thing is the layering of the clothes and stuff. She's like, ooh, that's cute.
Ooh,
oh,
cute. Mix it up. Like, yeah, different jacket. I'm sorry, maybe that's dorky, but everybody I think is so cute in the fall, and we just have a little bit of variation. We still have fall days are still sometimes really warm, but then the nice, cool fall like days in between are just so beautifully refreshing. And this is when you start to feel a lot of the holidays coming into play. And so all of the stores, Peter actually hates this part, but when fall hits, he knows because everything turns pumpkin. Well, you like it when it comes to the pumpkin spice latte.
I love fall all the way up until Halloween, and after that, well, no, that's not true because I love Thanksgiving as well too, but yeah, just Christmas. I don't know if it's because like me and her both used to work in retail, and I'm like, I am so sick of Christmas being celebrated for 3 months at a time. Can we just like keep it in just December? And
he's like, don't be coming into fall. Like, this
and
is
don't
not
break
your
it. Like,
time.
what happened to Thanksgiving? I love Thanksgiving. Why is it like just getting bombarded? It's like Halloween, Christmas, and I was like, dude, what is up with the being thankful for everything? And oh man, it just pisses me off a little bit. But one tip that we got to know is, and we've mentioned this before in past videos, is on Halloween you may have to modify your kids' Halloween costumes because it's either going to be great, probably like 60s, they're walking outside, they got their awesome costume, or it's going to be a blizzard and they're going to have to throw a coat.
Not, it's like been colder.
It's been like, so these last few years it's been on and off. The first Halloween that we had in the neighborhood that we currently live in, we literally had to like throw a coat on our son and all that stuff, and then after that it's been pretty good since then, I feel like, but that's just something to experience. Like I said, with Halloween being kind of later into fall, well, I guess only like a month into it, just know that you might have to modify your costume a little bit as well too. The leaves are coming down, so make sure that you are checking those gutters, because a lot of times what people do is they will not clear out those gutters, and so they're clogging up their gutters, and then that's how gutters go bad here, is pretty much the water just sits in your gutters, rust them out. So make sure you're doing that. Make sure you're raking your leaves on your lawn so that we're not sitting here clogging up all the sewer systems that are throughout these communities. What are some other tips for fall?
you're going to blow out your lines during this time.
Oh, that's
so
right. Yeah.
I personally do not do this responsibility, but a lot of people will ask like, hey, especially when we're helping new clients coming in, we do kind of prepare them for like different seasons, and we have a checklist of things that they have to do, and one of them during this time is blowing out the lines.
You have to blow out your lines. That way your lines don't freeze, and then your whole sprinkler system is pretty much jacked up because it all froze over. Unfortunately, I blow out my lines every year, and I still had freaking a sprinkler problem with something freezing and blowing out. And it's just one of those things. Just make sure you protect as much as possible. Also, the manifold that's on the outside of the house is for your sprinkler system. Make sure you cover those. I mean, even after draining them, cover them just to make sure, because just a little tiny bit of water in there will kind of explode, break those solenoids, break those levers, and all that stuff. So just make sure that you are bundling up that sprinkler system, blowing it out, so that you don't have problems come springtime.
The other thing when it comes to the housing, kind of double checks, this is when a lot of the little critters are going to be trying to come into the heat. So it's going to start getting cooler. You're going to start having your spiders and all the different things. So you'll actually see people coming around if you're in a house or a neighborhood that doesn't have the solicitation rules. They'll start coming around and be like, hey, do you want us to start?
It doesn't matter. Even with the solicitation, they'll be like, come knock on the door. And it's like, dude, like pointing to the side, like, it says no soliciting. It's like, yeah, but I thought I had something that would help you out so much. It's like, dude.
You're like, come on now. But yeah, this is when you're going to start seeing an influx of spiders in the house. Again, if you just treat the outside of your house, what do you do?
Peppermint oil. Yeah, so if you mix peppermint oil, I forget what the mix is, but it's like peppermint oil, vinegar, and water, and I use like the little garden sprayer. Just spray the outside of the house. Of course, you always do get some spiders, but it seems like it definitely brings it down how many come into your house a lot if you just do that little peppermint oil. Plus, it's like, what do you call it, health or green conscious, right? Or
green
something?
Conscious,
Because you're not using like a bunch of
pets
pesticides and stuff. Yeah.
The other thing is, if you are next to open space, or you have fields, or anything that will be more attracted to like your mice and all of that, the mice will typically try to get into your garage as it starts to cool down. So it's a great time to set any traps, or however you prefer to get rid of your mice.
I'm not gonna lie, I poisoned the crap out of those guys.
It's like trying to be nice.
Anywhere the dogs can't get, I'm like, trap, poison, trap, poison.
I mean, they're gonna be trying to live with you in the winter time. They're gonna be like, hey. So just make sure that you're prepared to kind of just say, hey, you just go ahead and stay outside. And however you decide to do that, this is the time to do it.
The final thing that we're going to be covering in regards to fall is when your ski traffic is going to start picking up. So with that ski traffic, if you're looking at traveling I-70 west, plan on waiting a little bit, because you got everyone going up the mountain, everyone coming down the mountain, and it seems like now with the amount of people that have moved into the Denver metro area, it just really doesn't end. Where before it was like morning time, and then you knew like right around 3 to 6 coming back down is when it happened, but now it seems like it's all day long.
That's another thing too, is kind of going into, obviously we're going to be starting to go into the next season here. But going into that area of time, the kids are out of school, and so you'll start to see a lot of these families travel up to the mountains during school breaks and things like that. So that's another thing, is people will be traveling up because of school breaks. All right, before we dive into this next season, if you are liking this content, hit the subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and the notification bell so that you get notified every single time we put out a video.
And of course, guys, if you are... Oh, I kind of interrupted you. I was like trying to jump the gun.
He was like really excited about his part.
If you guys are looking at purchasing real estate here in the beautiful state of Colorado, experiencing these beautiful seasons that we do have here, give us a call or text the phone number right below. Right below right there. We always answer. It doesn't matter date or time.
All right, let's go ahead and dive into that third season, which is going to be winter. And this is going to be where a lot of our clients are excited, right? They're coming from other states where they don't have winter, or they're known that, Denver's kind of known for having not a short winter necessarily, but kind of bipolar winter, and so we'll have lots of sunshine during the snowy time.
Well, winter is like, it's the season that everyone looks forward to, because there's so many times if you're coming from like, the coast, they say from Florida all the way over to California, any of those areas, you don't get the snow, you don't get to experience that. And so you have 3 seasons in those areas. Well, I mean, South Florida, you really only have like 2. But it's just like, that's what they're excited for. Like, oh my God, snow, I get this. And it's just like, yeah, it's great. But
there's some things you have to plan. So the first thing is going to be, this is where you are not going to want to skimp on your snow shovel or even a snow blower if you're feeling inclined, because you are going to have to be clearing, especially if you're in an HOA community, you're going to be clearing your driveway and your sidewalk. Depending on how many times in a row it snows, will be how many times you have to do that, either per snowfall. And so sometimes you're doing it every day for a couple of days. Also, sometimes you're doing it in the morning and then still doing it in the afternoon after work because maybe it hasn't stopped yet. The good thing is, and things we talk about all the time, is if you're south facing, the sun will sometimes help you out with that. And so, but if you are getting a snow shovel, I recommend, which I don't really do the snow shoveling, but if I do it, I really like it to have the metal strip on the front, which helps kind of on that ground versus just getting plastic.
Yeah, I mean, it is so important to have a good snow shovel. If you're getting a snowblower, guys, so like Target and Walmart has these like chintzy little, it's a shovel snowblower thing.
Yeah.
Do not get that, because all you're gonna do is waste your money. That thing is gonna break so fast. It's gonna take so much longer. Make sure if you're getting a snowblower, you get an actual good snowblower that's gonna blow it off to the side and all that stuff. Also with the south facing driveway, yeah, I mean, I feel like if we get under 2 inches, usually like by the afternoon, as long as the sun pops out, we don't have snow anymore. And so a lot of times we talk about, neighbor Dave across the street where he's north facing and he's over there shoveling. And I'm like, hey, how's it going, Dave? I'm going to go hang out for the day. And, come back. Yeah, he's still there. Yeah. He's still shoveling. And my driveway's nice and clear.
The other thing too is you're going to be doing more with your car than ever before during the season. If you don't have a covered garage or some kind of covering, you're going to be needing a good scraper. Now, you don't just want the scraping part, you also need the brush, because sometimes we get that really beautiful fluffy snow and you don't even need the scraper.
Just like wipe it off real quick.
So you could just swipe it off. Sometimes if you don't have anything, you just take the good old sleeve of the arm, but then you'll kind of get drenched, because even though it's fluffy snow, it is just pretty wet. But that's something you're going to be keeping in your car probably fall and then into early spring, because we'll talk a little bit about what that looks like. But this is something that you absolutely have to have in Colorado. Yep.
Another quick tip when moving into Colorado is make sure that you do have a vehicle that's either all-wheel drive. I mean, I had a front-wheel drive Mazda that kicked butt in the snow, but it's because the tires that I had on it. And so on top of having a good vehicle that's all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive, make sure you have those all-terrain tires. I prefer all-terrain tires as like the winter tires that have the studs in them, just because they work great and I don't have to get them changed out from winter into spring. And so a lot of times you see people who are like a little delayed on changing their tires, and you hear them, they're clicking of their studs that they got in the tires. Yeah. I personally, like I said, just a good set of all-terrain tires has always worked great for me. Outside of that, if you can do an all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive car, that is definitely preferred.
Now, if you're in the mountains and you start to see a lot of chains be put on, that is really only necessary if you're dealing with really steep areas in the mountains. Otherwise, you don't typically see that unless you see big truckers or things like that. Yeah,
truckers are required to do it from a certain month into a certain month to have chains on their truck.
But a lot of clients will ask us, do I need to do that? No, not necessarily. Like if you just have some all-terrain and you're all-wheel drive, you're good to go. Yep. Now, if we get a lot, like a big dump, be prepared that if your neighborhood is maintained by the city and all of that, it might take a minute for them to get off of the main roads into the side roads. And so we have seen some cars have a difficult time getting to and from work. And then usually it's gone, obviously, by the time you get back from work. But it's those early morning drives where they're getting out to go to work that might be a little bit more challenging.
Yep. Another thing to consider, or another tip, is that there will be, so the sand mixture that they use on the roads, it used to be like what magnesium, something that they used to spray on it, but now they also have a sand mixture that they throw down the roads. This is why we get a lot of broken windshields, guys, because you have the trucks, after everything's melted, they're kicking up those rocks and the sand onto the windshields, so the front of your car gets like sandblasted, you get cracked windshields. So do not follow close to, especially truckers in the wintertime, because you are just asking for the front of your car to get wrecked by all the sand and rocks.
Also, this is kind of where people are asking us about like getting your cars ready. We talked a little bit about the tires and all of that, but you'll see clear bras on cars. That is because of these chipping. A lot of the rocks will get thrown up, and so that like clear protectant bra is to actually just protect your car from getting chips in it. And then definitely make sure on your insurance that you have the windshield coverage, not only just for chips, but full windshield repair if there's going to be a crack. So that's something that you're going to want to check with your insurance, because it is going to happen. It's just a matter of when.
And the last tip that we're going to be talking about for wintertime is you still have to wear your sunglasses.
Actually, more so.
Yeah. So there is the snow blindness that we get here. So it's like if you have a fresh snow, the sun's out beating on it, it seems like it's brighter than a hot summer day. And so make sure that you do still have those sunglasses in the wintertime and the summertime. Probably the 2 times that you need your sunglasses the most here in the state of Colorado.
You also could still get sunburnt. So don't think that just because it's cold, you can't get sunburnt here, because we do still have beautiful sunshine during some of our winter
300
months.
days of sunshine, right? Is average in Colorado.
So you still might be wearing a tiny bit of sunscreen on your face if you're going out, especially like if you are going snowboarding or skiing. I still wear sunscreen, guys, when I go snowboarding and skiing for anything that's going to be exposed, especially if we're not wearing goggles and the whole get up. If we're going out there to just hang out and like have like a little vacation away from home, you still might need a tiny bit of sunscreen. Now, the fourth and final season that we're going to be covering is spring, and this is one that I don't get to start because this is Peter's.
We always go back and forth. Who's the best? Is it spring or is it fall? I'm spring,
It's
she's
hard.
fall.
It's hard to pull
I
down.
like spring because it's like new beginnings, right? All the flowers are blooming. Like the trees are all blooming. Everything's turning green. You got that smell of rain in the air, and it's just like, I love it. It's fantastic. And so it's like spring is awesome, but there are some things to consider. Biggest thing is everyone thinks springtime, all right, cool, we're getting ready for summer. It's leading up to it. But wait, you still might get a snowstorm. So a lot of times we get those snowstorms like in April, even May. And so we have this rule of thumb to where typically don't plant your flowers until after Mother's Day, and even sometimes like there's a couple years ago that failed us where we did plant them after the fact. Like we were going out there like trying to cover them with buckets and blankets, all of our flowers and everything that we had just planted. And I think even the neighbor was like asking us for some blankets. But so just to know that do not try and plant anything before Mother's Day. That's usually the rule of thumb. And also expect some of those blizzards still happening within the springtime.
Now, how does that also affect? Yes, it affects your flowers, but if you're moving into a house and you're really excited that you have some kind of fruit tree, this is another thing to keep in mind. Any way that you can protect those fruit trees, because anytime that they do freeze in those later seasons, it might actually prevent them from having fruit that year. So if you're thinking all excited, you're like, we had an apple tree and we made like apple pie. We made everything you could apple.
I want to make moonshine, but
yeah.
I couldn't quite figure out the whole recipe.
It's more like applesauce. No, but anyway, so we definitely, keep an eye out on your trees. If you can wrap them, go for it. But most of the time, it's just kind of a hit or miss on whether or not you're going to get a bunch of fruit that year.
Yep.
Now, this is another season that you're going to be layering up. And so it's funny. Spring is actually my second favorite season because you still are wearing your layers. A lot of people have been stuck inside during wintertime if we had a harsh winter. So you're going to see a lot of people coming out to play, which also makes it feel kind of magical in the springtime because nobody sees each other if we have a harsh winter, where it's a little longer. We actually had a harsh winter this last winter. And I think that's why I'm like, now we have to talk about it because it's been a long time since we've had a colder winter.
Yeah.
This last winter was colder where, you're doing a lot of family things and you're in the dead middle of all the different holidays. And so you start to like kind of lose touch with your neighbors a little bit. And then springtime hits and it is go time. Everyone wants to hang out. So this is the time that everyone is coming out to play. Now, with spring, we used to have really rainy springtime. Now, and this last year was pretty good, but it's hit or miss on whether or not it's going to be rainy or not. And typically, it's not downpours like, say, in Florida or anything like that. It'll drizzle. You'll have rainy days. These are great days to be working inside in front of that computer. It'll be a little bit more, kind of gloomy out, but we don't have as many of those as we used to.
Yep.
All right, we have covered 4 seasons, which is the best thing about Colorado. If this is stuff that you are liking, please hit the subscribe button, give us a thumbs up if this is the type of video that you like, and then also hit the notification bell so you get notified every single time we put out a new video.
And of course, guys, if you are looking at purchasing real estate here in the beautiful state of Colorado, give us a call or text the phone number right below. Right below right there, we answer. It doesn't matter day or time. Until next time, we love you. Bye.
Bye.